And what would that be the same where, because we hear a lot of people saying, oh, you know what, my area is saturated, everywhere there's an HMO within there. Is there still an opportunity within, those areas that we might deem to be saturated?
Okay, that's a really good one. Okay, so there's an area down on the south coast where there's a couple of areas where can I mention it? I'm going to mention it. Fair enough. So I'm going to
Yeah,
mention
it. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Portsmouth. Okay, let's just use it as an example. Portsmouth, very well known location on the south coast. A lot of HMOs there. Okay, having a lot of HMOs in an area doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing, because you could look in an area and go, well, okay, there are a lot of HMOs there, but you know what? Most of them are low quality. If you're the guy or lady that's putting in the high quality premium product in there, you're actually going to do very, very well. The problem that Portsmouth has, and this is what you'd only know this from doing your research into the location. The problem with Portsmouth is you've got a lot of turnkey companies pushing out a lot of high end. So that's a different to so what you were just describing there was, if you had an area that had a lot of HMOs, but most of it's low quality, you will do very well in that location. If you do research and you find an area like Portsmouth, for example, has a lot of HMOs, but actually may have a saturation issue with a lot of premium stuff being, pushed into the market, that's strategically more of a risk. So again, it's a little bit of a top tip here, which is be mindful of those locations where there's a lot of turnkey companies pushing stuff out, because they will saturate their own market. So, and that's not something people normally look for or consider, but Portsmouth is a prime example of a location where a lot of high-end stock has been pushed out very rapidly into a market.
We see it a lot in sort of student towns, big sort of student cities and towns. But do you think that's now coming into kind of private rental sector as well as kind of the student HMO market, which is, I guess, become, we see, the big guys kind of building 300 unit places, or was it now in the
No, I
private
haven't
rental
really seen
sector
the
as well?
build-to-rent stuff. I mean,
No.
the build-to-rent stuff that you're describing there, I've seen that affect the student market, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Brighton and Hove is a good example of that. The build-to-rent blocks go up. It has affected student market. It hasn't affected professional market. Important thing I think to remember about a lot of the build-to-rent blocks is primarily, not all, but primarily, there's a lot of the build-to-rent student blocks going up are studios and one-beds. And so that's a different market straight away. That's apartments. That's not what we're doing. We're renting rooms. We're not renting units, if you like. So they're not self-contained in the same way. So straight away, there's a delineation of a product different that's there. So yes, the student market, I would say, is definitely on the front line of being more heavily affected. So, I mean, for example, Southampton, another one, load of students there. If build to rent came in, would it affect everything? Well, yes, it would, because there's a big student market there. So yes, the knock-on effect is there. I've always wanted to be in the professional market so that I'm not affected by that first line of where the pension companies and everything will normally go.
Learn what's working in today's property market. Get started for free at ypn.plus.